Hey, I'm Brian Van, sportbiketracker.com, and today we're going to do a video install on the PSR GP Folding brake and clutch lever. Okay, as you can see, we already have them on the bike. If you want to see the full install, watch the rest of the video. Every step we show you what we did to get this project done. This lever, it's really pretty cool, okay, at the end of the day. The features that it has, it is able to fold outward and spring back, spring loaded. Adjustable reach with a barrel adjuster. That's pretty damn cool. Folding and adjustable length for the blade. This part here is actually pretty well executed for the length. The install, really straightforward on this 17R6. If I had one takeaway with this lever, I want to show it to you right now. It's going to be the folding part. And if you watch further into the video when we're doing the clutch lever, you'll be able to see exactly what I'm talking about. If you see this little witness mark right here, the first time you fold this up, okay, the tolerance is really tight, and there's a spring-loaded ball bearing down there. It leaves just a little bit of a witness mark there. Okay, so you need to decide if that's a big deal for you or if it's not, but that is something that I believe you're going to encounter with all these levers. End of the day, the rest of it looks good, feels good, like the adjustability, the outward folding part. I've seen that before. I think it's the ASV lever had something similar to that, but you know, all in all, you know, this has some additional features too. So if you want more information, check out the rest of the video. Okay, we're going to start this project over here on the brake side. To remove the brake lever, you need to start by getting the lock nut off. The brake lever pivot bolt actually threads into the bottom of the master. And then from there, you will install a nut that just locks it in place to make sure that it's not going to come loose. About the worst thing I can think of would be rolling down the track into the braking zone or even on the street, going for that brake lever, expecting it's just going to be there, because let's face it, I mean, you take that for granted, right? That's an automatic thing. And find that it fell off. That would not be a big win. So that's the reason that they do this on an OE style install. 10 millimeter, all right, you can see it's actually a locking nut. So instead of using thread locker, it actually mechanically locks. From here, we have a flat blade. You'll find the torque on that is typically not very high. This is the second set of levers that we will have installed on this motorcycle. The first one was a set of the driven halo levers. Now that PSR GP folding adjustable lever, I mean, this is definitely kind of a cool part, no question, okay? So what you're going to want to do is, I like to lubricate always the internal portion of the lever itself. And the way this lever is set up, it comes with an insert that you need to install on the 17-18R6. The R1's the same. Okay, this actually captures the piston for the brake master. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, this is just all-purpose grease. You don't really need a ton. I use a pick, just kind of lightly lubricate the inside. I'll do that over here as well. Slide this in like that. Remember, now that needs to capture that brake master right there. Okay, now we're ready to install it on the bike. The most important thing is that you get the push rod for that brake master cylinder located in that pivot. Slide the lever over like so. And then once you have it slid in, you're going to be able to manipulate that piston push rod and you'll feel it once you see how it just kind of dipped in right there like that. Okay, you'll feel it slide right in. If you have to force it, you're doing something wrong. Stop, pull it apart, take a second look, okay? Remember, this is your brake lever. It doesn't really get much more important than this. I know on the surface, a lever install seems like such a basic thing. But the reality is, if you misinstall it, you can really create a lot of trouble for yourself. Go ahead and snug that out. Remember, this isn't a high torque situation, just a little bit of torque. Then we get the lock nut on the back side. Normally in this case, I'd probably use a shallow well 10, but Jimmy lost it. So now I got to roll with the wrench, and the deep wells just don't have enough clearance. So feel free to leave in the comments section your displeasure for Jimmy losing my tools. Totally okay with that. Now let's talk about this lever itself now that we have it here on the bike. There's some things I like, some things I don't love. I like this. And we have the lever guard on here now that's kind of in the way, but look at that. That's pretty bitchin', okay? Barrel style adjuster. That's smooth, nice and easy to use. Dig that. It's also folding. When you initially fold it, you're going to see there's no marks on this one, okay? And this is like really tight right there. It initially doesn't want to fold. I had folded this one before we did the install, and the tolerance is so close, even though there is a spring-loaded bearing down in there, right, to kind of hold it in position, that it did mar it up a little bit. I just want you to be aware of that up front, okay? That would probably be, my one dislike with this. These are adjustable length, too. We had done an install on a similar pair of levers that had this adjustable length component, and honestly, that other brand, they really could have done a better job here with the hardware they chose to hold the lever blade. And I'll tell you, that's where PSR did a really good job, because if you look at the washers that they've used here, okay, the choices they made, it keeps adequate pressure on that lever blade, okay? Right there is basically a plastic, right, rubber washer. It's got a little grip. Metal screw, that metal washer, and notice it's the same size as that rubber washer, so that means the pressure it puts on it is even, so when you tighten it down, it's not going to squirt out the sides like we did see with the other one. So you're able to really get creative here with your lever length. You can see with that lever guard in the way, we're not going to be able to go for all that. And but certainly somewhere right around here is going to be good. And back into position. Okay, now to the clutch side. First thing we're going to do is we're going to want to back off that clutch cable as much as we can. You also need to then, if you look at the slot that's cut in that adjuster wheel, that is going to line up with the slot that's on the front of the clutch perch. We'll show you that here in a second. So basically, you want to adjust it to its lowest point, and then you have to bring it back and make sure that those two slots are aligned with one another. From there, we have a 10 mil nut on the back side. Fortunately, I'm able to get my deep well socket in here. Love to use that shallow well if Jimmy hadn't lost it, but that is what it is. A little different here on the clutch side. Essentially, you have a bolt up top, a pivot, that passes through the perch itself. And then you have a lock nut at the bottom. So, that kind of illustrates that little safety precaution they take on the brake lever. The clutch lever falls off, you're just going to be pissed off. Your brake lever falls off, it's a whole lot worse. Let's kind of give you a look at this. If you haven't done this before, you'll note there is a raised portion here that aligns with a cutout in the top of the clutch perch, so that when you drop this down in there, it locks into place, allows you to tighten up the lock nut. And once again, this is a mechanically locking nut as well, so there's no need for any type of thread locker. Sometimes, every bike is different, okay? We may have to go down and adjust the clutch cable. I want you to be aware of your clutch switch as well when you're doing this. You don't want to damage that, okay? I'm going to try and just slide this out. There is that clutch switch right here, and we'll have Steve come over on the other side so I can show you this. There is your clutch switch. And you can see the groove right here that is cut into that clutch perch that has to align with the adjuster wheel. From here, I'm going to grab that clutch cable, slide it out the slots that have been cut in, pull the cable out of the lever, and you can see when I installed these driven halo levers, I had lubricated all the contact points like I showed you on the brake side. Okay, just like on the brake side, I'm going to lubricate the inside of the lever. There's a bushing that we'll install in here. This is the bushing from the stock lever that we've reused with the driven, so put a thin film of grease inside there. You want to make sure you keep that in there. The first thing we need to do is install the clutch cable, and that dips in right here. So slide it in, rotate it over, extend the cable. You want to dip that in through the slot. Now we have it through the clutch perch itself, and then kind of rotate it around so you can get the lever itself to slide into the clutch perch. Notice I had my index finger underneath holding that clutch switch depressed in so that we didn't run the risk of catching the end of it and snapping it off. Okay, then the lever dips right in, no problem. Put our fastener in. Now we have the lock nut that goes on the bottom. Let's say hypothetically you happen to drop this and lose it. Don't go just get a different nut and throw it in there, okay? Because remember, once again, this is a special nut that actually has a locking property to it, all right? And if you don't have a nut like this on there, you run the risk of it vibrating out and your clutch lever falling off. You know, and anytime you're working in a blind situation like that, it's not unthinkable that you may drop that fastener, okay? Got it started. Now I'll use the socket, just run it on a little further until it hits that locking portion of the nut, which is where it'll stop. Get a ratchet. Notice I'm going to keep some downward pressure on the pivot while I snug this up to keep it in that groove right there. I don't normally use a torque wrench in the videos. If you haven't done a lot of wrenching and you feel more comfortable using proper specs, I would encourage you to buy the proper tools and do the research before you do the installs, man. Go ahead and get yourself a torque wrench. Okay, now you can see how loose our clutch is right now. Okay, that's no go. You need to adjust the lever. So what we're going to do is we're going to rotate the adjuster wheel until we have the appropriate amount of slack. Everybody has, a different preference here. So you need to find what works best for you and roll with that. But at the end, you need to be sure that you have some play. If that clutch is left engaged all the time, it's going to slip, it's going to burn itself up. That is no good. So that little bit of play that I have here, that's going to be a great place to start. Once again, spring loaded, barrel adjuster. This is going to be a great opportunity too to show you what I meant with the folding lever. Okay, so this one has not been folded before, and you see right there, okay, it feels like it's going to move pretty easily, and then here it just takes a little more force. You can see it does just leave a little witness mark behind, so just want you to be aware of that. That would be the biggest takeaway I would have with this lever. For some people that'd be a big deal, for other people they'd have no concern. Once again, lever length adjustment. They definitely did a good job here. Just want to try and emulate what we have on the other side so it's reasonably close. And then as far as the clutch goes, what I would do is I'd ride it a little bit to see where I wanted it, where I liked it, and adjust accordingly. But that's something you can do literally during a ride on the fly and make it just right and custom for you. So there you have it. There is our PSR GP folding lever install on the 2017 STG R6 project bike.